never too late to do that. And George is continued to be remembered as the founder of Point McLean Mission, and these other men, and a lot of community sometimes say to me, like, we should get rid of these blocks. You know? They're just not good memories, but they also help us to unpack our history. They also help us to tell a story to visitors like yourselves. And I think that's important. I think it's important for us to understand what's happening in our world. What's happening in our little neck of the woods is just as important as what's happening in Canberra, we think. Or the countries in the world like Israel, or a big influence in the world. And other countries, and other people groups. We all are part of the creative plan. And that's really important to understand that it helps us, it keeps us balanced about who we think we are, and how important we think we are. That's what I think. That's always good to be planted firmly on truths that help us get through life and be a good neighbour in the process. All right, so only about 3 oxymorons. There's more, but we ain't got time. I've got another group coming, but we've got a few minutes for Q&A for those questions that you've parked, if you've parked any at all. Please feel free to ask. And nothing's out of bounds, is that right, Rose? Nothing's out of bounds. Safe place, Rose. Safe place. So we encourage people to ask questions. Don't feel you can't. This is the safest place on community. Yep.
Uncle Clyde, I saw the photos of the farming here and the shearing and the sheep, and I wondered who made the money out of that work and the sheep.
Okay. Well, back then, I think Ken's dad was involved. My dad, a little bit. I think my dad was aroused. He was never a shearer. He was aroused about, but the men would shear, and that was an industry that began really early. And they used to actually, the paddle steam would come from the lane across to Raukkan jetty and take the wool. The shearing shed was down by the lake back then, and then it moved later. And so the wool would go from the lane to Port Adelaide. So the men were involved really early.
And were paid. I've heard it different.
According to the people in charge of the mission would be what the stipend or whatever you want to call it on that time. And I'm not. What I do know is that people got some, but there were times when that was questioned. You heard of the wave of walk-off? And that's by a man by the name of Ngarrindjeri, and that was about that very issue. That those men from Lajamanu or Ngarrindjeri or Dagaragu in the Kimberleys would walk off because they were being treated like second-class citizens. And Vesti, who was the big business, couldn't operate with it. So they realised that they had the numbers, and so Vincent led them, and they walked off. And that was really the beginning of land rights as well. So, things change, but you have to challenge and question. And I think things happened here. I think our women were involved in the first voting for Aboriginal women in this state, anyway. We were known as the Free State. Not sure whether we acted any differently to other states, but it sort of made the state feel a little bit different, I think. But that, there were things like letters patent that people talk about lots, which suggested that First Nations people should be not, interrupted around the land that they enjoyed, and etc., but that never really took place, even though it was the King's edict. So funny how we just don't pay attention because they're over there, we're over here. So even the law can be broken and not even taken on. So there are things that are still talked about today. Some people talk about it more than others. So,
I've actually got 2 questions, but I don't want to be greedy, but I'll ask them and you can see what you think. So I'm Ruth from Scotland. You talked about how at some stage in your training the church didn't know what to do with you. Have I got that right? They didn't know how to make use of your ministry, your gifts. What's your relationship like now with the church or the churches?
well, I think we are the church.
Okay.
And then there's the institution.
Okay.
I think they're very different things. But it's taken me a lifetime to work through that. And I think, well, they did know what to do with us. I tell a fib. They wanted to send us to Alice Springs because that's where the Aboriginal people were.
Okay.
And we felt that was just so, what's the word? Just not thoughtful. As much as we love the Anangu people, Ngarrindjeri people, they're not our people. And we always felt that we, would be serving our people, the Ngarrindjeri people in some way. We always thought that the best people to reach the Ngarrindjeri would be Ngarrindjeri. That was our thought at the time, and we sort of suggested that, and that really created confusion.
Okay.
Because the thinking was, oh, you're Aboriginal, they're Aboriginal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we just sort of said, look, we understand if you don't understand, but that's okay. We've also been, talking to our communities, and then we came back, and then Sydney pastor came and said, oh, gee, is that the church in the 50s? Oh no, well it's got to be a ... church. And we said, no, it actually is a church that the community operate. And so that was sort of the last conversation we had.
So this building now is the community church building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm. So it's not a denomination.
No.
Yeah, so again, that sort of didn't go down well.
Yeah, I can.
Because, it's going to be...
It's got to be attached to something.
Yeah, farms on seeds.
Yeah. My second question is, I'm part of the Iona community, which is a small community based on a little island in Scotland, but we have a global membership. And we're a Christian community focused on peace and justice broadly. I'm here with Nick, we're going back. What would your message be to my community of 5,000 people, focusing on particularly creation care, on reconciliation? What word, what message, what inspiration, what question, what request might you have of me and of us as we journey home?
Okay, well, I don't really know you, so it's difficult to sort of suggest that I've got anything to offer you. you know, I hope that the story that we've shared with you today is helpful in some way, because, you know, that guy sitting next to you, he's been recording every corner. And you might be able to use some of that, I don't know. You know, might be able to tell a story from the story that Nick is holding in his hand. You know, like, that interests me because, you know, like, we sort of, you know, there's some of those things we think about all the time.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile? You know, how do we do reconciliation? How do we do that? How do we do justice?
Yeah.
You know, well, you know, that, you know, there's a scripture that sort of says, you know, like, if we want to be just, maybe we should apply in our lives, you know, and do the things that we know that we must do, and that is to be just, with everyone, to love truth, and I think they're really important things. You know, like, it's hard sometimes to even love our community. You know, we've got some people in our community that, you know,
It's tricky.
tricky. We, in our community, we say, oh, you want to be tricky.
Yeah.
Tricky can mean many things. And so we've got tricky people in our community that, you know, it's a challenge sometimes. But to reconcile is something that our Creator teaches us. If we can reconcile to Him, it's an easier journey for us to reconcile with our neighbour. But if we don't reconcile with Him, we're pretending.
Thank you.
So it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And out of that comes justice.
Sure.
Yeah, but it can't come from anywhere else. It's got to come from Him to us.